It may be your detergent. That's why more dishwasher brands recommend Cascade Platinum. It's specially designed with the soaking, scrubbing, and rinsing built right in. Cascade Platinum's unique action packs dissolve quickly to remove stuck-on food for sparkling clean dishes the first time. Choose the detergent that lets your dishwasher do the dishes. Cascade Platinum, the #1 recommended brand in North America.
The racing years starts with 1950 and the first World Drivers' Championship. Pre-war stars were challenged by a new breed of drivers from Europe, Britain and South America, like Argentina's Juan Manuel Fangio. And there were new cars to take on the Alfa Romeo 158s that had dominated post-war racing. Ferrari, Maserati, Talbot and the great British hope BRM were planning to be Grand Prix winners. And sports car racing was in full swing with classics like the Mille Miglia and Le Mans. We start with the 1,000-mile road race from Brescia to Rome and back, the Mille Miglia. It was a celebration of Italian motoring, with everything from small Fiat Topolinos to powerful Ferraris competing on treacherous high-speed roads. British contenders Jaguar and Frazer-Nash. Giannino Marzotto swept to victory in his Ferrari 195S, wearing a double-breasted lounge suit. The first round of the new World Championship was the Grand Prix de Europe, a title bestowed on the British Grand Prix. Alfa Romeo entered 4 of their 1.5-litre supercharged Alfetta 158s for Juan Manuel Fangio, Dr. Giuseppe Nino Farina and Luigi Fagioli, supported in this race by Britain's Reg Parnell. Enzo Ferrari signed up Alberto Ascari and Luigi Villoresi for the season, but his Scuderia wasn't present at Silverstone.
24 of the world's top drivers meet at Silverstone for the Grand Prix of Europe. British ace Reg Parnell of Derby is number 4 in the strong Italian Alfa Romeo team. With only 6 British cars included, attention is focused on Bob Gerrard and his well-known ERA.
Britain's own Grand Prix challenger, the immensely complex, noisy and difficult to drive BRM Type 15, wasn't ready to race, but was shown to King George and the Queen of England. The BRM effort was masterminded by Raymond Mays, who was determined that Britain should be a power in world motor racing.
And the royal party are there to wish the drivers luck, including Prince Bira of Siam. Earl Mountbatten is president of the Royal Automobile Club, which organised the meeting.
Raymond Mays encouraged trade support from British industry to fund and supply parts for the project. While the 1.5-litre supercharged V16 BRM wasn't ready to race, Frenchman Raymond Sommer gave the car a demonstration run. With Ferrari absent, the main opposition to Alfa Romeo were the privately entered 4 CLT Maseratis of Baron Emmanuel de Graffenried, Prince Bira and Louis Chiron.
Favourites for the trophy are the Alfa Romeo foursome, with Louis Chiron and his Maseratis as nearest challengers. 70 laps lie ahead, 200 miles to come, as they thunder away to a perfect start. Jumping into an early lead is Juan Fangio, number 1, the former bus driver from the Argentine, and today the most successful racing motorist on the continent. Leading the Alfa Romeo team, the Argentinian is driving strictly to orders, with the other Alfa Romeos 2, 3 and 4 following him round. Chasing the Italian quartet, down the straight from Copse Corner comes the Belgian driver Johnny Claes, number 18 in a Tolbo, and Bob Gerrard, number 12 in his ERA. Fast-working mechanics put the Italian aces soon back on the track. Closely watched by the royal party, they're back in there battling it out but never seriously challenged. The halfway mark is coming up and the order stays unchanged. Reg Parnell in Alfa Romeo number 4 is still in 4th place and Fangio in number 1 is still out front. 20 more laps to go.
8 laps from the end, Fangio's engine started to sound rough and he stopped at the pits. The mechanics took one look under the bonnet, but the engine was ruined. The cause, a broken oil pipe. Fangio's race was over.
Down goes the checkered flag for first man home, and it's Alfa Romeo's number 2, Giuseppe Farina. A broken oil pipe having forced Fangio to retire. Fagioli is second, Parnell third. A 1-2-3 triumph for the cars from Italy. An ovation greets the hero of them all, Doc Farina, 90 miles an hour winner of the European Grand Prix.
A delighted Farina is presented with the winner's laurels, while a disappointed Fangio looks on. Farina led the championship with 9 points, 8 for the win and 1 for the fastest lap. Round 2 was the Monaco Grand Prix, held on the famous Round the Houses circuit. The race was marred when Farina spun on seawater which had washed over the harbour wall. A number of cars collided and partially blocked the road. With his uncanny ability, Fangio avoided the chaos and went on to win from Alberto Ascari's Ferrari 125.
Indianapolis, and 33 ace drivers leave the starting line for the 500-mile annual Speedway Classic. Watched by a record crowd, these top-speed men reel off the breathtaking laps, breaking all previous records. Johnny Parsons, second last year, is out in front, but a torrential downpour makes the track very dangerous and the pace slackens. Still leading, Johnny comes in, headed for victory, and the tape tries to take it too literally.
The Indianapolis 500 was part of the World Drivers' Championship through the 1950s. In the Swiss Grand Prix at Bern, Nino Farina scored the win from Luigi Fagioli and another veteran, 54-year-old Frenchman Louis Rosier, in his Lago Tolbo.
One of the most popular motorsporting venues in the Midlands is the Shelsley Walsh Speed Hill Climb. Organised by the Midland Automobile Club, these meetings have been the scenes of many exciting duels.
Away from the major races, many other events took place every weekend. One of the oldest was Shelsley Walsh Hill Climb in Worcestershire, England.
On to another left-hander and away up to the S's, where great driving skill is needed to avoid losing valuable fractions of a second. Out of the S's you have a right-hand turn onto the long finishing straight.
The 1,000-yard climb up the Team Valley provided the opportunity for many British Grand Prix drivers of the 50s like Stirling Moss and Peter Collins to perfect their skills.
Yes, it's an aero engine. Lloyd Jones in his Kestrel Engine Special, 21,237 cc's. In the paddock, Placid for a brief moment is one of the most successful hill climbing cars in this country, the Alfa belonging to Dennis Poor. Another car which is seen at many hill climbs is Ken McAlpine's Maserati. Probably the most masterly of all hill climbing drivers is Raymond Mays, who on this occasion made the fastest time of the day with an ascent in 38.6 seconds. Watch him closely as he climbs.
In addition to leading the BRM effort, Raymond Mays was the preeminent hill climber of the time in his highly developed ERA R4D.
On this day, the return road was not in use, and as the cars descend the hill, we get another look at some of them. Lastly comes triumphant Raymond Mays, the star of a delightful day's sport. Meanwhile, in the paddock, preparations were going ahead for the start of the British Empire Trophy race, an international event over a tortuous road circuit which calls for great driving skill. Hot favourites were the Maseratis of Bera and de Graffenried. With their four-cylinder, 16-valve engine and two-stage superchargers, these cars appeared to be perfectly suited for the island circuit. In the pits, which are permanent structures used for the TT motorcycle races, we see Reg Parnell chatting happily with Bera and de Graffenried, and apparently it's a pretty good joke. Who let that wheelbarrow in?
The British Empire Trophy used part of the TT motorcycle road racing circuit at Douglas in the Isle of Man. Away for 36 laps on a wet road, with England's Bob Gerard and Cuff Harrison in ERAs leading Switzerland's Baron Emmanuel Tulo de Graffenried in the Maserati 4CLT.
Gordon Watson took his out around the first corner at walking pace. Colin Murray was less fortunate, however, and round he went. In fact, he was almost another for this graveyard.
Formula One races weren't restricted to just World Championship events. In 1950, there were 17 different races held all over Europe to F1 rules, the British Empire Trophy being one of them. Formula One raced to a limit of 1.5 litres supercharged and 4.5 litres unsupercharged engine capacity.
After 20 laps, Parnell led, but he was having clutch trouble, which 2 laps later forced him back to the 5th position. The treacherous surface had by now taken its toll, and only 8 cars were still running, with Gerard in the lead, followed by Harrison and Shaw Taylor.
Typically, drivers of the era were either involved in the motor trade, like Bob Gerard and Cuff Harrison, or had private wealth to pay for their racing, like Tulo de Graffenried.
The checkered flag once again fell before Bob Gerard, who had won the British Empire Trophy for the 3rd time. In the paddock, his wife, Joan, who helps with the timekeeping work in the pit, hastened to congratulate him.
De Graffenried took 3rd place in his Maserati.
Drivers race for their cars as Europe's most grueling car race begins. It's 24 hours non-stop with 2 drivers to each car, 31 cars in a struggle for mastery.
For the 1950 Le Mans 24-hour sports car race, French Marc Talbot entered thinly disguised Grand Prix cars. From the USA came Briggs Cunningham with his team of special-bodied Cadillacs.
tension mounts as Louis Rosier creeps up in number 5.
From Britain, Allard, and making an impression, Jaguar with the XK120 and Aston Martin with the DB2. Leslie Johnson got as high as second place in the Jaguar, only to retire when the clutch centre sheared. Louis Rosier was driving the Talbot with his son Jean-Louis. Briggs Cunningham and Phil Walters' odd-looking car was dubbed Le Monstre. Louis Rosier goes back into the race, followed by noted sportsman Cunningham.
Headlights pierce the night, but it's a morning after for those who watch. Speeding for third place comes Sidney Allard, number 4. Great Britain did well with 4 out of the first 6 places.
Having won the previous year, no Ferraris reached the finishing line this time. Eddie Hall's pre-war Bentley took 8th place.
But France wins with 54-year-old Louis Rosier driving 23 hours to his son's 1.
Second were Pierre Meyrat and Guy Mares, also in a Talbot. It was the last win by a French car for over 20 years. Returning to Grand Prix racing, Juan Manuel Fangio won the Belgian race at Spa-Francorchamps, with Luigi Fagioli second. Fangio followed up with a win in the French Grand Prix at Reims, once more from Fagioli, a remarkable performance by a driver well in his 50s. Privateer Peter Whitehead was third in his Ferrari. Fangio now took the championship lead from Farina, with only the Italian Grand Prix to go. The German Grand Prix returned to international racing for the first time since 1939. Famed Mercedes team manager Alfred Neubauer was at the Nürburgring. On this occasion, the Grand Prix was for Formula 2 cars and wasn't part of the World Championship. Alberto Ascari made good use of his 2-litre V12 Ferrari 500. Entries from Ferrari, Gordini and England's HWM were joined by homegrown designs from AFM and Veritas. Drivers included pre-war stars Hans Stuck, Hermann Lang, Karl Kling, Manfred von Brauchitsch and Paul Pietsch. Alberto Ascari easily won the German Grand Prix from André Simon's Gordini.
Biggest motoring event ever staged in Britain, the Delhi Express meeting at Silverstone sees Britain's national racing car making a trial run of the circuit before its first racing appearance. The Duke of Edinburgh joins the 100,000 enthusiasts on the course for the day's big event, the International Trophy Race, as the BRM moves up to the start. They're off, but at the back of the field, the BRM fails to start. A heavy disappointment for everybody. The race goes on over 35 laps, making 105 miles of high-speed driving, and the national car is pushed off the track to watch the cars it might have beaten. Still, Britain's flag was carried high by 20-year-old Sterling Moss in car number 18. Without the BRM, the race was a foregone conclusion for the unbeaten Alfa Romeo team. And G. Farina, the fastest man in Europe, wins from his teammate Fangio by 2/5 of a second at 90.16 miles an hour.
The World Championship was to be decided in the Italian Grand Prix at Monza. Ferrari had developed the 4.5-litre version of the 375 for Alberto Ascari to drive. In practice, Ascari was only 1/10 of a second behind Fangio, who was on pole position. The pressure was on Nino Farina. Enzo Ferrari made a rare appearance. From the flag, the race was a battle between the Alfettas of Farina, Fangio and Fagioli, and Ascari's Ferrari. Fangio retired when his gearbox seized. He took over Taruffi's car, but again retired. If Farina could finish in the top 3, then the Italian would be the world champion. Farina led for 13 laps, Ascari for 2, then Farina again until Ascari had to retire with engine failure. Ascari took over Dorino Serafini's car and brought it up to second place ahead of Fagioli's Alfa. So Nino Farina won the Italian Grand Prix, and with it, the first World Drivers' Championship. Alfa Romeo had won all 6 of the European events, 3 each to Farina and Fangio. 44-year-old Farina scored 30 points to Fangio's 27 points, with Fagioli third on 24.
A good crew knows conditions can change, especially in life.
It's a boy!
That's why the crew at Carvana gives you 7 days to make sure your car fits your needs.
Triplets.
This calls for third row seating. Finding the right car can smash your budget. But the crew at Carvana makes it easier to shop for thousands of cars at the right price. So breaking in the new ride won't break the bank. Looks like this little piggy gets to see another day.
So he thinks.
Meet the 4-year-old who refused to wear pants this morning. Why, Andy?
I'm a dinosaur.
Won't wear pants. We'll eat Eggo waffles.
Get your wins where you can when you Lego with Eggo.
It's nice to get credit for doing the right thing. Saving responsibly should give you credit too. If your credit score needs work, Credit Builder from Credit Karma Money could help. Save a little each month and your score could go up. Get the Money app where your hard work pays off and create your own karma. Credit Karma.
Hi, yes, I need a locksmith. 3 hours.
Oh, nice. You can say cash back, right?
And it is saving the day right now.
The Wells Fargo Active Cash Visa Card. That's real life ready.
After their feeble performance at the International Trophy when the car broke on the start line, BRM regrouped and went south to Goodwood. Raymond Sommer had died in a racing accident in France 2 weeks before this race, so Britain's leading driver Reg Parnell was signed up. Parnell did everything expected of him, beating Prince Bira, a competitor he disliked. The BRM won twice, and it was just the tonic the team needed. While Alfa Romeo and their drivers rested on their laurels, the Ferrari team, led by Ascari, went to the final race of the year, the Peñarín Grand Prix at Barcelona. This was a non-championship race, but in the era, individual Grand Prix had their own prestige and importance. The main opposition was to come from BRM, making their Grand Prix debut. They hoped that the cars would complete the race and get a good placing, with experience for the mechanics and the drivers. The team photograph with Reg Parnell and Peter Walker, Sir David Brown of Aston Martin, PR officer McCullough and the designer Peter Bertham. Alberto Ascari was invited to drive for BRM but never tried it, although Taruffi did. At the start, Parnell slotted in behind the Ferraris, but his BRM was not to last long, retiring with a sheared supercharger drive within a handful of laps. Ferraris dominated at the front of the field. Alberto Ascari and Piero Taruffi were in superb form. Parnell was competitive until mechanical problems intervened. Walker in number 10 drove a much more sensible race on team instructions. He moved up the order in this race of attrition as high as 4th place. The car had developed a misfire which was slowing him down. The pit stop for fuel saw a malfunction of the refueling equipment, as a result of which Walker, who was already complaining of gearbox difficulty, had to go out again. The car was push-started out of the pits, an electric starter being something BRM had forgotten. Alberto Ascari, Dorino Serafini and Piero Taruffi had the race to themselves. Finally, Peter Walker came in to retire, with the engine misfiring and gearbox woes. The Peña-Rin race saw a Ferrari 1-2-3 to Ascari, Serafini and Taruffi. Alberto Ascari again proved that he had the potential to become world champion. Could Ferrari challenge Alfa Romeo in 1951?